Acha, aisa, we have two options now. It's already 11:15. I have some 10-15 minutes of fame. We have two options. I have a 35-slide presentation, which I can kill you with, or we can make it a little more interactive. Everybody's looking for a little tea break or a bio break. So can we just take 2-3 questions? Drones is a very exciting subject. Let's make it a little interactive. I'm sure you have some questions. The first question is always the toughest.
Would have interest into asking question from you. Anybody who has a question? You have a question?
Yeah. Hi. I think I've been speaking with a lot of drone companies, and what we see the general, I would say, population complaining about is policies. That they say that it's the government policies that many times is what's hindering the.
अरे उसपे तो मैं बोर करने वाला हूँ अभी आपको कुछ नहीं मुद्दे की बात बताओ.
Exactly. So I was going to come to that I read the policies and I don't feel that's true. What do you feel is the actual thing that's hindering the progress of drones? It's all seems to be on a very piloting stage.
Right.
And everyone who seems to be talking about policies seems to be swaying the conversation the wrong side. Right. What do you think is the actual reason?
Fantastic. चलिए next question please. ना जी. बोलो ऐसे ही बोल दो यार. Okay. Okay. Should I give you the good news? If something's not in the policy, it's actually good news. Because if we put a rule on it, it will start with no person shall. Because उसी से कहते हैं offense बनता है. Because आप कहते हैं ना कि rule यहाँ सुसु नहीं कर सकते, क्यों नहीं कर सकते, कहाँ लिखा है, spit नहीं कर सकते. तो इसलिए offense बनाने के लिए every rule will start with no person shall. When I joined the government, I also found it funny. Why do we always start in a negative? They said इसी से offense बनता है. And if it's not there, then it's good news, which means you can do anything. If I don't say don't spit here, you can go on spitting there. Okay, so tethered drones
I also have
out of the policy, and you are free to do anything. You can do the surveillance because it doesn't require any battery, so you're not constrained by battery. And secondly, even for firefighting, you can take it anywhere and just release it. The biggest advantage is in the tethered drone, the data moves very fast. And also the battery is not required. So you get the ground batteries to actually power, or a live electric connection to keep powering the drone. So you have very long cycles. Of course, after a certain time, through 3 or 4 hours, you have to bring it down because the motors need to be cooled and other equipment, moving parts also need to be cooled. But otherwise, it's a great innovation, and tethered drones is a way to go forward.
I also have one question in your address.
आपको अलाउड नहीं, आप तो घर वाले हैं, आप तो लड़की साइड लड़के वाले हैं.
But this is very important. It just came from audience only. The last meeting. When we are opening this Delhi Jaipur and Delhi Agra e-highway, we are also geofencing it, the entire highway, so that we can give cars to people without driver, the way we get it into Europe. So a drone which is attached to the command center or the control room would be able to help us to the location of the vehicle and sometime when we get stuck.
Right. I didn't get the question actually, but थोड़ा आवाज गूंज रही, थोड़ा सा और वॉल्यूम कम कर दीजिए. बहुत कम ही लोग हैं इसलिए ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता. चलिए एक बार फिर से थोड़ा सा पूछ लीजिए सवाल.
दिल्ली जयपुर और दिल्ली आगरा ई हाईवे के ऊपर ये दोनों हाईवेज को जियो फेंस्ड करके उसके ऊपर गाड़ियों को वैसे दिया जा रहा है जैसे यूरोप में गाड़ियां मिलती हैं बिना ड्राइवर के. In that condition, sometime the control room, which is under with the collaboration of UP police and Gurugram police, would also require a watching drone if something goes wrong.
Okay, got it. See, driverless cars, unfortunately, is outside our domain, so I would not comment on it. But if it has to happen, it will just happen. Take it, and from Ministry of Civil Aviation side, we'll give full support. Okay, and तो आपका हो गया सवाल. आपका any last question? Because I'm just conscious of the time. हाँ जी. अरे बहुत सही सवाल है. असली सवाल तो आप पूछा आपने. I'll give you the good news. तो वहाँ से शुरू करते हैं पहले. हाँ, any last question? The gentleman there.
Anything else somebody wish to ask before sir answers? No, sir.
Okay.
That's all.
So 3 minutes gone. I have 7 or 8 more minutes. I'll first start with the gentleman's question. I didn't quite get the question properly. You just said कि policy is not working or what are the key hindrances?
No, I was asking what is your view of why drones aren't fully taking off? What is it? Is it, for example, in China, we saw a lot of consumer drones come in.
Right.
In India, that consumer side hasn't come in. Do you feel it's that, or do you feel it's something else?
Right. And good question, and I'll start with your answer. Why the biggest hindrance was our foolishness. We were stupid. STUPID, stupid. Because the whole world was moving ahead, and we, in the name of किसी को काम को रोकना है उसमें नेशनल सिक्योरिटी डाल दो, ये डाल दो, पब्लिक वेलफेयर डाल दो, प्राइवेसी डाल दो. You can create. We are a nation of great debaters. We talk a lot. And many times as a joke also we say we should be the head of NATO. No action, talk only. So we talk whole day and do very little action. And this is the one big hindrance which happened. Finally, now I'll just skip to the good news. The good news is last August, after a lot of debates and such conferences and events and disputes, and also you saw Abhishek, he talked about how a 6-month bullshit got, and I'm sorry for the language, let's talk freely, yaar, thoda maja karte hain. How a 6-month bullshit was resolved in 7 days? The answer lies here. So if our GDP, if China's GDP, you ask about China and US, if China's GDP is whatever, 5x of India and US is some 7x and all our kids want to go there, half of the people here want their kids to go abroad, okay, some of them have actually gone there and come back. The only reason is half of the GDP gap can be skilled just if we kill the silos. And you've seen the live example in the previous speaker, when Abhishek was telling you about how a 6-month bullshit got resolved in 7 days. The knowledge is all here. We create silos. We are very insecure people. So when we sit on our desks or sit in our departments, we don't talk to each other. And we feel if somebody asks us a question, he's like encroaching into my territory. And I'll create 500 reasons why it can't be done. So this was the quick answer. Now I'll tell you the good news. The good news is now gradually, see, this is a very impatient nation. It's an angry nation. It's a youth-driven, people like you. You are the ones who have to stand here next and give an explanation to the common public. Why aren't we moving at 10 times the speed here? There's so much to catch up. Okay, so drones we were foolish. And we let China get 20 years ahead of us. And even right now, while we're debating and discussing, some young Chinese are actually working in the labs and creating the next drone of the next application for the next part of the future. Okay, while we're just wasting our time debating. And US and all are 40 years ahead. Israel is 40 years ahead. All our northern borders and western borders are all, many times we use, are heavily dependent on Israeli drones. Why is that? A tiny country, maybe 4 or 5 RK Purams and Lajpat Nagars you add is the population of Israel. Yeah. Don't you think just one RK Puram and Haus Khas Milake, we could have created the world's best drones? So we are 40 years behind Israel, 50 years behind US. And every day that we are wasting, discussing or debating, we are hurting our own nation. Okay, so now the good news. The good news is in August last year, and that answers your question also, sir. We come up with the new drone rules after a lot of debate and committee of secretaries and big danda coming from the Prime Minister himself. Okay, so in August, everything was eased out. And from 40 pages of rules, we came down to just 11 pages. Out of that 11 pages, the rules are actually 4 or 5 pages. The first 2-3 pages are definition, last 2-3 pages are just statutory clauses and all that. So it's just 4 or 5 pages. From 40 pages come down to 4 pages. There were 25 forms, 20 forms taken out. And now it's reduced to 25 forms. Just 5 forms like your vehicle thing. Okay, just registration, transfer, this, that, driving vehicle, so driving school, to flying school, and you need a driving license as a license holder. So there's a pilot license. That pilot license also in February we removed it. Now it's just a drone pilot certificate which you can get from any of the 23 authorized schools, and off you go, off you start flying. There's no license which is issued by DGCA because they cannot handle the lakhs of people who are going to apply. So this happened in August. This came in 25th of August. Within 2-3 weeks, the cabinet approved the PLI scheme, the Production Linked Incentive Scheme. So that when you ask about policy, see, whenever you have to support a particular sector, especially a growing sector or a nascent sector or a bacha sector which has to, given that little hand-holding support, it basically can be broken down to 3 simple legs of a stool. One leg is the policy. Be supportive. Just listen to people, be supportive, cut out all the bottlenecks, cut out the local shahzadas or mafia dons who sit on information, data and approvals. Okay, so that's one, the policy part. Second is you have to do demand creation. So you have to work across sectors. So we are working with 14 different ministries trying to create lots of RFPs. Create RFPs, create work orders, give them work orders, money flows to them, including military. So a lot of money is getting pumped in by the military. You pump in money, these youngsters in this bot lab here, everybody knows who bot lab is. Okay. So pump money into their hands so that because research comes at a price. Your young engineers, they leave, they do BTech here and do MS in Stanford, Harvard or MIT. Okay, unless we give them good resources, good money and good respect out here. So that is the demand creation side. Okay, and then on the supply side, make it easy for these imports of components, licenses, issues, bottlenecks. Okay, and also we did the import ban in February. Again, we were told, lots of debate happened. A lot of parties within India told us you can't do an import ban because ye ho jayega, wo ho jayega, etc., etc. But all that was finally road roughshod on, and we have the import ban. So now there's no more Chinese drones or whichever drones coming in to the country. So that's the supply side support, and also the PLI scheme as I spoke about. So you produce, you get money. The more you produce, the more money you get. And at the end of the day, they say, kuch bhi aap policy le aao. End of the day, you have to show numbers, right? You said, kahan dikh kahan raha hai? So now the numbers are coming in. 2021, okay, the turnover of this entire manufacturing base was just about 88 crores because we've just run the PLI scheme, so all the financial data has come in. You'll be happy to note that it was just 88 crores. 88 crore tha unka total turnover. That has gone to 319 crores in 1 year, 21-22. I'll repeat. So 90 crore has gone to 320 crores. It's a 3.5x increase in turnover in just 1 year, just by debottlenecking. We haven't done shaken the earth or created some paradise here. Just removed some bottlenecks and reduced these number of forms and reduced the rules from 40 pages to just about 4-5 pages. Okay, and 3.5x. And that 320 crores this year we expected to go to 600 crores. Next year maybe 1200 crores. But this 300 crores also we wanted to go to 3,000 crores and 30,000 crores. So while 3.5x sounds very good, but the base was too small. This has to go to 3,000 crore and 30,000 crores one day. And that day better be soon because our youth is getting too impatient. They don't have the patience. They just run away like a Nadella or a Pichai. And then they'll do brilliant stuff there, which they could have done out here in Hauskas in IIT. Okay, and then we'll buy their stuff at 10x or 20x or 30x the cost. And this is a simple logic which the Honorable Prime Minister kept on drumming to many of us in the government who were blocking one gate or the other. There are several gates which you have to cross to paradise, and we were controlling each gate. And then we were all hammered by the big man himself. Who gets it? At the top level, he gets it. So, and then you talked about the maps. So this happened in August. And in September, we had 30 days, okay, to collab. Now, see, when you have to put up the airspace map, first of all, there's this security angle. How can you put red zone? How can you put DRDO labs and nuclear establishments and Mathura refinery on Mathura refinery, everybody knows. But how can you put all these 4,000 odd red zones? So, बहुत इस पे 1.5 साल से debate चली. और finally सब आ गया. Today, if you just, यहाँ तो network I saw is very poor, but if you would just go on the internet and just type aerospace map, airspace map, it will automatically take you to the Digital Sky platform, which is a single window platform. And you just click on the airspace map, the India's map will open up, and then there's a layers icon. On the layers icon, there are some 6-7 options. Whatever you click, it will show. So airport red, this, that, airport yellow zone, this zone, that zone. And you'll be shocked to see that 90% of India appears to be green. So when first time people see ये कोई spoof लग रहा है, hack किया हुआ है. ये प्रॉपर सरकारी साइट है, हमारी साइट है. ठीक है ना, ऊपर लिखा भी हुआ DGCA. Because earlier green zones were only 10% of India. 10% green and rest were yellow and red. It's now completely turned around in September of last year to 90-10. Now 90% of India is green. और तभी ये जब सरिता अहलावत उनकी टीम तन्मय बुनकर यहाँ पर प्रैक्टिस करते थे वो अपने ड्रोन शो का that swarm drone thing, इसके ऊपर से प्लेन गुजरता है. This was supposed to be one of the reddest of the red zones. आज वो आराम से बैठ के अपने बॉट लैब की वो प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं और उसके बाद पूरी दुनिया में जा रहे हैं, तो उनको फॉरेन अफ्रीका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स भी मिल रहे हैं. सो इट्स ऑल पॉसिबल. इट ऑल्सो गिव्स अस द कॉन्फिडेंस कि बॉस stupidity can only last for so long. Okay, so please don't lose hope. So I see some of the youngsters who are here. Okay, please don't lose hope. Our generation has failed you many times. We've done some good work. Thank you so much. But we've also done a lot of bad work. And so don't lose hope. Don't just get the next I-20, go to some MIT. You can do a lot of things at IIT itself. Many of us also had that option way back in the 80s, but we decided to stay here, and together we'll find a way. Okay, so this airspace map is done September, and I'll just tell you that कई बार दिखता नहीं है ना, क्योंकि हमारा ये आदत नहीं बोलने की. Government anyway we are supposed to be nameless, faceless, and work in the backgrounds. So in these smaller groups we can actually talk 36 state governments, state police, right? 36 states and UTs, some 8 or 9 Army intelligence, Air Force intelligence, Coast Guard, this and that, DRDO, and some agencies, 2-letter, 3-letter agencies I can't even name. There are certain agencies which we are not aware of. So 47 agencies we had to deal with. So we asked the PMO for 6 months time. भाई 6 महीने लगते हैं भाई हर एक को अपना map पे आके map करना, red zone, yellow zone. The way this government works, they said 1 month. We said, अरे भाई 1 month में कैसे होगा? 6 months में तो 3 months दे दो. They said 30 days, and it should be locked in the rules itself. So if you read the rules, it says that the airspace map will be released in 30 days. So 25 August को वो आया, तो 24 September was the last date. And you'll be surprised that at 11:55 p.m. in the night, we did release the airspace map. Yes, some states were very funny. They said, नहीं, ये है, वो है, इधर से उधर से permission, होबे ना, चलबे ना, and all that. But at 11:55 p.m. on 24th of September, खेला होएगा छे, खेला होबे, खेला होएगा छे. ठीक है ना? And the airspace map was released. 4-5 states are still pending. We said, okay, fine. So your entire state is green. Now you can handle it. So this is the way we now work. Okay, you come to the party or you stay out. Nobody's going to miss you. But the juggernaut, the Indian juggernaut cannot stop now. So this happened in exactly 30 days. And then PLI scheme on 30th September got notified. Now I'll just move up because I have another 5 minutes of fame. So, and then the UTM policy, the unmanned traffic management, because like your Indigos and SpiceJet all operate in the same airspace at very high speeds, carrying you and our families together. Okay, so it's a very, very complex science, this whole air traffic management. Okay. So similarly, we have a UTM, the unmanned traffic management. So uska bhi the framework came in October. A lot of deliberations. It took almost years. I was the chairman of the committee, and we had some very sharp people from cutting across civil, defense, military, industry, academia, etc. And we created that UTM framework, and now we're working on it. Then came January 26th when we had that the certification scheme, because like your vehicle, any vehicle which has to be put into the public domain has to be certified. So there's a certification scheme which was released, makes it transparent. So anyone if you go to the labs and DGCA doesn't approve it, they have to give a reason as to which clause of that certification scheme is violated. Otherwise, in 60 days, you get your type certificate. And once you get a type certificate for a particular type of a drone, it's like a no chapne ki machine. You can go on building 100,000 or 1 lakh drones of the same type, just like a vehicle. And you can self-generate a UAN from a Digital Sky platform. So on same 26 January this year, we also got the Digital Sky platform up in a very short time, just 4-5 months since the rules released, with the entire code had to be rewritten. Okay, and now there's just 5 forms, and they're all online as of 26th of January. And in February, we came up with the import policy. After again 8-9 months of deliberations, finally the import ban was put in, and all drones with immediate effect. A lot of people said, give us 3 months, 6 months, we have paid money, LC khul gaya hai, dollars have been paid. We said, thank you so much, bad luck, take it as a bad business decision and write it off. Okay, so it's a very harsh decision, but it was taken again from a lot of directions from the big man himself. Okay, so in February, the drone imports were stopped and components were made very free, because right now we are in the assembly stage. So assembly was earlier, hum sab ulta kar rahe the. Assembly, हमारे youngsters who are actually assembling the drones and trying to create some degree of आत्मनिर्भरता, उनको हम परेशान कर रहे थे customs पे और इधर-उधर. और जो बने बनाए Chinese drones सारे वो आराम से कंटेनर पे कंटेनर आ रहे थे. तो this was completely reversed on 9th of February this year. And on 11th of February, we removed the drone pilot license also. And now a certificate from any, just like IIT, once the government has approved IIT can keep on giving degrees and PhDs. Nobody's going to come and interfere. Why should we? So we remove the long arm of the government, and now each of the 23 approved drone schools can give any number of certificates. We will monitor the school, but not the students. It's based on now trust and self-certification and non-intrusive monitoring. This is the word we are using. Trust in the citizen, belief, self-certification, and non-intrusive monitoring. So we are monitoring. We have our own sources. Khabrilal hamare sare taraf hain. But we will not intrude on a day-to-day basis, so that our youngsters are focused more on the research than form filling. And in March, we also released the first round of PLI window. 14 people were shortlisted. Then in May, again, we opened the second window, because then the financial year got over in 31st of March. So, and then 23 youngsters, 23 young startups have now become part of the PLI scheme. In May also, we had the Bharat Drone Mahotsav. Many of you were there. I see some known faces. The Prime Minister, we asked for 60 minutes. He actually allowed 90 minutes. You can't get 5 minutes from the big man. We asked for 60 minutes. His office gave us 90 minutes. And he actually spent 2 hours. Okay, went around the whole place, flew the drone himself. The first Prime Minister to ever fly a drone in a public event. It's a professional drone, not some Junjuna, Chota sa toy types. Okay, it's a proper survey drone worth 7-8 lakhs. So he flew that, walked around, met people, went way beyond time, and apologized, saying I actually came on time, but I've come late to the stage because I was so enamored by what I saw by these youngsters and these Kisan drone guys and all that. So just in short, I've given you a little, 10 minutes is too short to give a full speech. This is, like I said, I have 35 slides, which I'm not going to kill you with. So a lot of things are happening, but now we have to move to the next phase. So now the entire focus of the government, the policy part is done, incentive part is done, demand creation part at the policy level is done. Now we have to work with the states and the districts, and on the agriculture side, the agriculture ministry now, see, we are supporting on the manufacturing side, the PLI scheme. The agriculture ministry has come up with a very lucrative incentive scheme for buyers. So if you're a KVK, Kishi, again, time is short, so I'll not go into details, but let's just say there's a very lucrative subsidy system for KVKs, farmer producer organizations, custom hiring centers, individual farmers. So if you're an SC/ST farmer, you get 50% off. If you're a lady farmer, you get 50% off. So you just give half the amount, and the half the amount comes from the agriculture ministry. So that scheme is on. We are encouraging lots of other ministries to come up with such buyer schemes. So on one hand, this is like a double laddu. We are supporting the producers also, And we are also supporting the buyers. So this is the max that the government can do in hardly any sector that I can think of where we are giving money on the production side also, and we are giving money to purchasers also. The other scheme is, of course, our regional connectivity scheme on the airline side, where we pay some money to for the infrastructure creation and some money to the passenger also, where we subsidize. We don't give it to the passenger. We charge a small fee, it's a fixed fare cap. And on top of that, we give a subsidy to the airline based on a tender process. So one who quotes the lowest subsidy gets that subsidy. So this is the only example I can think of. So these are, I just thought I'll give you a broad picture. The policy, incentive, demand creation work is done. Now it's the dirty work of actually going to the field and doing lots of demos. Some 12 states we've already done huge demos. Many places our ministers have flown down 8, 9 hours to reach that spot for a 1 hour drone mela. At IIT Delhi also we had a small event. So at some 12 states we've done that. We have to continue doing that. And and the farmers are very sharp. So once they get to know, Manjeet gets to know that Baljit is saving some money. And I'll just give you a very short 30-second overview of the Kisan drone benefits and all, and then I'll stop because my time's almost run out. See, in a Kisan drone, what happens is, you know this old 18th century method where you've seen a farmer take a bag of urea and just throw this like this. This is the most unscientific way of spreading, because it's not equal, not even, and this granule falls into the soil. It has to dissolve with water, then the root has to pick up and send it to the food factory, which is a leaf. Only then that urea is beneficial, right? And so it's only a portion of that which goes to the leaf. Leaf is your final addressee, the destination. In a spray, it actually converts that into a liquid, a 10-liter tank inside a drone. And this drone then flies and creates a cloud. And that cloud it's atomized. It's like very fine spray of that urea and water mixture. And then it goes to the leaf, it goes to the stem, goes to the roots, and very well absorbed. So the absorption rate is very high. The urea consumption comes down by 30%. And urea, it's almost 90% subsidies paid by people sitting in this room. It's almost 80 to 90% subsidized. Some 1 lakh crore is spent every year just on urea subsidy. And as the dollar increases and the gas prices increase, the urea price also increases. But the farmer pays a small amount. It's anyway funded by taxpayers. So 30 to 40% urea reduction. And water, you'll be shocked if I tell you, 90% reduction per acre. That's the power of a drone. Because otherwise, when you spray, you have to put more water to ensure that it gets dissolved and then goes to the root and then to the leaf. Okay, with the drone, it's just a 10-liter tank which is used per acre rather than 120, 150 or 200 liters depending on the soil and the climate. At other places. 90% water reduction, 40% urea cost reduction, and some 20 or 30% productivity goes up per farm. And his cost, so his revenue goes up, cost comes down, the margin goes up. So this is the power of a drone, and there are various use cases, as Sinha Saab also mentioned, in highways, surveillance, fire, disaster recovery. Everywhere drones are being used. The only thing why you don't see it in the cities is because naturally this is the reddest of the red zones. We'll come to the cities also. And because we've stopped the Chinese drones, we won't see it in the cities too much. And this is just the right environment for Indian players to get into the tiny toy drone, the 250 gram, 1 pawa, 2 pawa, 4 pawa, 1 kilo drones, which are actually the consumer drones. Sooner or later that will happen because we've created the grounds. And there's always a lag effect between creating policy and then design, manufacturing, funding, and then actual retail sales. So all that will happen. But our bigger focus is in the villages and the hilly areas where even from one hill to the other or one village to the other, or from the health center to the village, snake bite ho jata hai. Ek snake bite se entire family gets finished. Just one farmer, the landowner or the earner of the family dies in a snake bite in the mountains and the whole family gets devastated. And through this you can take serum, you can blood samples, you can take blood, and it takes just 30 minutes, which otherwise would take 3 hours, 6 hours, maybe a day to reach that point. In the military side, I can go on and I'll just stop here. And the military side also, from going from here to the base camp to the forward reaches where our soldiers are camped in some very tough weather situations. The old method of mules and caravans go up. I mean, it takes 3 days, 4 days to reach that point. A drone can do that in just 1 hour and come back. You understand? So, I mean, it's like internet. It's like a mobile. Tell me one use case where, tell me one human being who doesn't need a mobile today. We all survived without mobiles 40 years back or 30 years back. Today, it's part of our life. Right? So mobiles and internet, it's like drones is nothing but an extension. It's a mobile, it's an internet, it's got radio communication, it's got eyes, it's got cameras, it's got limbs to lift things up and change the destiny of the country. So I'll just stop here. Thank you so much. You've been a great audience, and all the power to NH for EV and electric vehicle. Drone is also an EV. It's an electric vehicle. It's just that you can't get up in the air, we can fly. So Okay, and ease of doing business, we need to make ease of doing business. We have to go a long way. Maybe you've done just 2% or 5%. The 95% journey still remains. If this country has to become a little more chilled out, relaxed, easygoing country so that our youngsters feel more and more enthused and proud and determined to do something good for the country. Our generation did whatever we did, and thank you so much. But it's the new generation which has to bridge this whole gap, this 5x gap with China and this 10x gap with the 9x gap with the US. And I'm sure we'll get there. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.